I was like early on in my entrepreneurship journey, I was kind of just like crazy. I did whatever it took to make as much money as possible. And it didn't matter how it came in. And then I started realizing as I matured in my entrepreneurship journey and making business that there's different types of wealth. So I pillar my wealth off of 3 variables coming from the Bible in Genesis on Abraham. Basically, it talks about, number 1, getting your personal finances in order. So having your bills paid without you having to think about it too much, security, right? So for example, back in the day, I would make like 100 grand off of trading, but I had no security. It was like very volatile income. Like one month I'd be like rich, and then the other month I'd be very, cash poor. And I was making decisions as if I was rich, and the liabilities were piling up. So this system really saved me. So that's the first thing, is definitely having your personal stuff handled, and it's very safe, right? And which brings me to the second step, which is having spendable money. So a lot of people, they're like, oh, I'm doing good. I talk to a lot of people because I try to help people financially as well that are not as fortunate. And a lot of them say, like, my bills are handled, but then they only have $150 left over after their bills. And I'm like, is it really handled? Like, you have no savings. If there's one thing that happened to you in life, you would basically have to ask somebody else for money or take out a loan and take out debt. So having spendable money is very important. I believe you shouldn't live your life like a monk in a cave. Like, I think you should go and get some dinner, right? I think that's okay. I think it's okay to go watch a movie, right?
Yeah.
I think it's okay to take a little vacation, maybe 1 or 2 vacations a year. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I think there's a nice balance to life, and I think we should all be on this earth to be happy. So the spendable money allows you to do that. And at that point, you widen the gap as big as you possibly can to where your income is very high, but your expenses are very low. And at that point, you start investing. That's the third part of the wealth, where you actually multiply your money. So there's kind of like 2 types. There's cash flow, which is the flow of money that comes into your bank account. Usually that's safer, but you don't really get too much of a big win. Sometimes you do. Like if your business, explodes, yeah, you get that big win, but usually the cash flow is consistent and safe. And then you have the multiplication of money, which is where you get the big wins, but it's not as consistent. And I believe if you want to truly become financially independent, you need both of those variables.
And you can only do the third step, the investing step, if you've done steps 1 and 2.
That's what I believe. I believe it's a 3-phase system. I believe like you suck as an investor if you are emotionally unstable because you can't pay your rent.
Right.
It's true. That was me. I was that guy. I had 100,000 in crypto, but my rent was actually questionable. And I had to sell my assets earlier at a loss just to pay rent.
Right.
So you're actually a way better investor if you have cash flow.
So if we take that as a 3-act structure, right, for the rest of the conversation.
Yeah.
Because lots of people listening, they're at different points. Maybe someone listening, they're actually at that first level where they're not safe.
Yeah.
So how did you get safe? And what advice do you give to people who also want to get safe?
Yeah, so at that level, you kind of have to lower your pride. It's like very easy to get safe. It's very easy. So for example, first step, get a job, right? If you don't have a job, like you can't provide for your family. Like it's as simple as that. It's like the basic 101. It says it in the Bible. We all feel it in our body. Like if you're a man, you provide for your family, right? It's just common sense. You need to work, right? That's the first thing. Once you get a job, if you're not making enough money, you could do 2 things. You can get a flexible second job, Uber Eats, Postmates. I mean, it's all over. There was a guy I was talking to, he didn't even have a car. I don't have a car. I'm like, okay, do you know there's programs you can sign up for where they'll give you an electric bike and they'll pay you to go deliver pizza? Like it's impossible to like be broke nowadays. Like, come on, right? It's really you. Broke is a mindset. So work 2 jobs till you can get a higher paying job. And then once you have this higher paying job, that's when you start figuring out, okay, like how do I make like a side hustle out of it or something like that? That's what I recommend. And
for you, how did you go from unsafe to safe?
Oh, for me, yeah. So, man, I tried to make businesses and I got humbled. I failed at all of my businesses. I didn't follow this program. And then I eventually got a sales job. And my sales job paid a lot. I got like, at the time, I think I was like 23. And I did like 10K my first month. To me, that's a lot at the time. And yeah, that's how I did it, is I worked a job specifically that paid you based off performance. A performance-based job, which is a very good transition into entrepreneurship. A performance-based job is basically like training wheels for entrepreneurship. That's the best way to put it. So if you're an executive or you're trying to be an executive, that's like kind of performance-based. You can be paid off bonuses or commission. I recommend if you're getting a job, whoever this is, do that.
Yeah, because you're not being paid for your time, you're being paid for your results.
Exactly.
Very, very good. Do you think entrepreneurs are born? Like, would you say you were born an entrepreneur?
Personally, look, we live in a society now where there's something called the 9 to 5. But I believe the economy would work way better if we were all entrepreneurs. If we all had our own little thing. I don't have the answers for the world, but I don't believe we're born an entrepreneur. I believe everybody to a certain extent has creativity. They can build and they should be able to monetize it. And it's as simple as that.
Yeah.
And I believe also in crypto, which allows that to happen on the internet. It's a long story, but we're basically getting to a point as a human species to where you can now create value in a digital way and you actually own the rights to it. So the only way to do this before is to create a physical reality thing, right? And then you actually have it in your hand. So you hold it and it has value because it's in your hand. But if I make an Instagram post that gets 100,000 views, I don't own it.
Right.
The centralized corporations own it. So in the future, which is very, very close, we're going to get to a point where you can monetize everything, which brings me back to the original subject. Do you believe everyone should be an entrepreneur? Yes. I just don't think our economy and our systems and structures are built to be able to accommodate that.
Right.